All right, I think that's it. Here we go.
Let's talk Melrose. Let's talk Melrose. Melrose. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's talk Melrose. Melrose.
Good evening, Melrosians the world over. I'm Tom Catalini.
And I'm Jen LeClaire.
And that's it.
Today.
Just like the old days, Jen.
Oh my God, we've been abandoned. What is happening? No, I can tell you.
know.
I don't know what Tom Shampoo is doing tonight, but I do know that Sam Hammer is with her family at the Lincoln school concert.
Nice. And another thing that I know is that this is Let's Talk Melrose, and it is a show where Melrosians talk to Melrosians about Melrose. And like the good old days back in the MMTV studios, it's you and me doing the front work.
That's right.
And I don't know what's happening out back. I haven't checked.
Well, in a little bit, we're going to be joined by Erin Ryan Heineman. She's on the Commission of Disability, the Disability Commission for the City of Melrose, and she's going to talk to us about some storytelling opportunities with our friends at Follow Your Art. So,
Synergy.
We'll see her a little bit later.
Nice. All right,
yeah.
that sounds good. So, what have you been up to since the last week?
I know. I actually really feel like I haven't seen you. So it was a gorgeous weekend, both weather-wise and stuff happening-wise. So first, Friday night, the junior class of Melrose High School cleaned up pretty nicely and went to the junior prom. So I have a junior. And they had a lovely, lovely night. They had the prom in the courtyard between the two schools. So it was outside. It was really interesting. And they had food trucks that pulled up and lights and decorations. So it was nice. So the kids had a great time. And of course it was Mother's Day. So all eyes were on. So yeah, it was Mother's Day. We didn't do anything. We did some like gardening and stuff. Which doesn't sound that fun, but it was something I had wanted to get done, and it forced me to not work. And we got outside and like the weather was beautiful. So we hung out in the backyard and kind of got everything set up and planted pretty flowers and things like that. But I also well, you tell me first what you did, and then I'll tell you what Sam and I did.
So I thought I was doing gardening, and then I corrected myself and said landscaping. And then Stephanie said, no, you're doing yard work. You're doing. but I was out there throwing the grass seed, raking
I saw you actually.
Yeah, watering everything. You get the goal to have a semi-decent lawn. I'd be happy. I'd be happy with mediocre. Let's upgrade to mediocre this year, and that'd be nice. But it's nice when you can, because I've seen some other people's nice yards, and I know you work on yours like you just talked about. It is nice to have a little bit of an oasis.
Yeah, especially in the backyard. Well, you have to look across the way to the beautiful Thimbles yard, so there's like FOMO probably happening.
Well, that's what's had me in a state of disarray for many years, because there's almost no point in trying, right? So they're like at level 11, and I'm down at 2. So maybe I get to a 4.
Spreading the grass seed around. So we went over to Mahoney's, and Dave said, oh, we'll go over to Mahoney's because it's Mother's Day. Like, no moms want to be, shopping at Mahoney's and doing yard work on Mother's Day. It's going to be empty. Well, we've learned now that is not true. That place was teeming. It was so busy. And we bought probably several $1 million, it felt like, full of flowers. And they fill up the cart, right? You have those like giant carts. And we saw the cerises there too, by the way. You fill up the cart and it looks like you have like these teeming, like abundance of flowers. And then we got home, we sort of planted them all around, and the whole yard like sort of absorbs all the flowers. And then you look around and it doesn't feel like what you just spent because they're all scattered around. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Right. But it is fun stuff. It is a
Yeah.
popular place. So I don't know if I told you, I told Dave, but Annalise is working
Oh
there
yeah,
for her summer job.
that's
And I
right.
saw your husband this weekend and your daughter. We went to Everything Everywhere All at
Oh
Once
yeah.
at the Omni Theater at the Museum of Science. That was fun. And on Mother's Day, we took a trip out of town, went to Narragansett, Rhode Island, beautiful by the sea, nice
Mhm.
brunch, and then North Kingston, which was a cool little community with cute little shops. And we go into one, and there are Mariella's bags.
Oh
She has the bags made from Mexico, and she imports
yeah.
them. Popular item around Melrose, and we're like, oh my God, that looks like that. And the guy behind the counter is like, yeah, that's my sister-in-law.
Get
And
out of here.
he's run the shop down there for like 20 years. And he said he's rarely in there watching the shop, but he happened to be in that day. So we had a nice conversation with him.
Oh yeah,
And
she's great.
yeah, the stuff is really great. And he imports a lot of other stuff from Mexico. And
I have one of those bags as well. They're from Oaxaca, and she's super friendly and a great salesperson. I feel like half of Melrose has those bags, and I understand why. So, do you have the picture also? Because I also went with Sam Hammer, and
oh,
I
yes.
went on Saturday. There we go, and had tea with the ladies. There is former Mayor Inferna, also Mayor Inferna. We had tea at the Milano Center, sponsored and put on by the Rotary Club, and it was fantastic. It was so fun. We had
It
a
looks
lovely,
good.
yeah, it was really nice. It was full. We had great service and just a really nice morning. So thank you, kudos once again, the Rotary Club doing creative, cool, fun, lovely events. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We should.
Break into the news. What about community reading days
Oh
tomorrow?
yeah,
Are
yeah.
you doing any of that?
I am not. I'm booked in the morning. I know you and Sam have done it, right?
Done it in
Sam.
the past. I'm not going to make it this year. I
Yeah.
feel like Sam and Tom both signed up. If I could,
I know Sam's doing it. I believe at Roosevelt. Yeah. So Community Reading Day. It's an event sponsored by the Bridge, where they partner volunteer readers from all over the community to go into our schools and read to everyone in a variety of grades, kind of all over town. And it's a lot of fun. And I know the kids really love it. It's you get to pick your own story that you're gonna read to the kids, and they love it.
nice. All right,
Yeah.
now we're ready for the news. All right, Jen, what's going on with the Melrose Police and Fire Department buildings?
Well, so I did not get a chance to attend, but I know I'm hoping that they'll publish some pictures or videos, or perhaps even do it again. But the Melrose Police and Fire Departments hosted just earlier this evening hosted an open house for the public to be able to come and view for themselves some of the conditions in the police and fire stations. Because we have a big proposal in front of us, and we're asking the community to make a sizable but really important, in my opinion, investment in our public safety buildings. We had Police Chief Kevin Faye on a couple weeks ago to talk about it, and so they invited the community to come in and see for yourself what that looks and feels like. So thank you to them and the commission, or the committee, I would say, for doing that work. So we'll try to find someone who got to tour and maybe talk to them next week.
Yeah, that would be interesting to get a
Yeah.
firsthand account. We saw
Yeah.
kind of the news specials, and they've got a nice website, but it is kind of nice to be able to walk through.
Yeah.
More financial consideration. So the budget is out. So Mayor Broder has submitted to the city council. We know a few things today that's been released. It's $101 million and change. It's a 6.2% increase over last year, with a 3% increase specifically to a $3 million increase to the budget, which is, I think, maybe 13% increase to that budget, if I read that correctly.
Yeah.
And there's a digital budget presentation. There's a supplemental budget document where they break out each city department has its mission, goals, and its focus, and so you can sort of see how all the pieces fit together. We're not going to do a deep dive on that this week, not because we're not thoroughly prepared for that discussion, but just for scheduling consideration, we thought
Right.
next week might be better.
Right, exactly. We need everyone else to catch up to us. We want to give the people time.
I give the rest of the community a chance to catch up
Right.
before we get into a deep dive. But I'll tell you, this one thing I read in the weekly was interesting to me. According to state law, the city council may only delete or decrease any budgetary item, except things that are required by law. The council has no authority to increase any item or the overall total proposed operating budget, and they have 45 days to do that. So that's some technicalities on the process. So the city council, all they can do is make it go down. They can't make it go up. Or they can approve it.
That doesn't sound good, but yeah.
Well, I think what it means is the onus is on the administration to put forth, if we are going to increase like the way it is being proposed, it is up to the mayor's office to do that.
Right. So in other words, the city council can't be presented a budget and someone on the city council say, I want to make a motion to raise the school budget even more, right? They don't, they can only look at what's been presented. Yeah, agreed. So we will talk about that more. We want to get some people on who can have a conversation with us, answer people's questions, etc. Answer our questions. So we'll do that more in the weeks coming. It's a process. Hey, have you been down the hill and seen what's going on across the street?
Yeah, it looks cool. At the kitchen, started by Julie Unger and others, or is it Julie's business? I'm not completely sure, but I know she's central to it.
Yep.
It's the kitchen. It's where the little bake shop used to. It's where Seven Hills Pasta was, I think, most recently, which is great pasta, by the way. So it's in by the West Wyoming train station, kind of across West Wyoming. I went by the other day, and maybe it was a grand opening or something, but there are balloons and a lot of people in there. But what they do is host cooking classes, right? So you can sign up.
Yeah, they're going to do events, cooking classes. I think invite different people in and different chefs in to do events and cook. So almost like a shared kitchen concept also. So they have a bunch of different programming. So I'm super excited about that. That's a great spot for that. Julie Unger, of course, is one of the managers of the farmers market. So she knows her stuff and is lovely to work with. They're already staffed up. If you go to their website, they have a really, really interesting and robust staff for this enterprise. So I'm ready. I'm waiting for my invite to go down there and check it out.
Okay, an evening in Rome, bread baking 101, a night in the Mediterranean, food explorers, all about rice, teens 13 plus, demystifying phyllo. I don't know what that is.
Phyllo dough. Yeah, you do.
We'll demystify that.
We're going to demystify it.
Sushi making for teens, sushi making for adults. It goes on and on and on. I know that the in Evening in Rome, and it was already all booked up. So it looked just a great programming and a lot of fun.
Well, I signed up for their newsletter. You know what other newsletter I'm signed up for, of course, is the Creative Alliance.
Yes.
I want to get Erin on here in just a second. So I'm going to rip real fast through some of the things coming up. So when we talk on this show, I only put in the things that are happening like this week and into the weekend because there's that much great stuff happening in Melrose. So if you want to plan ahead for next weekend, you're going to have to sign up for the Creative Alliance. So this week, tomorrow, you can go do upcycled crafts at the Loop over on Tremont Street. On Thursday, there's creative writing for adults at Follow Your Art. Saturday, the public library is having a book sale. There's also an art gallery opening at the Beebe Estate. So those are actually, you can do both. Those are right near each other. There's also the pop-up market Paper and Clay has partnered with the Massachusetts LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, and they are hosting a Bi Queer All Year pop-up market at their location on Emerson near the farmers market. Saturday night, there's Teen Coffee House at Follow Your Art. And then Sunday, the Opening Doors Project is presenting Sol y Canto, a family show hosted by Alistair Mook. So that's just from tomorrow through Sunday. So there's a lot going on.
All kinds of stuff. And so I realize, well, I'll figure it out as we go. We'll just get Aaron on here, but I realize nobody's.
Oh, putting all the
Sam is
links
one-
in. Oh,
Sam is the
see,
one who
that's usually
posts in the
Sam's
comments.
job. All right, you bring on Aaron, and I'll put some links in the chat.
I did a link, so let me get some walk-up music if this works and see if we can get Aaron. Do you hear any music?
Just bring her on. I don't.
All right.
Music.
All right, maybe there's some walk-up music. Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Hey.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. This is yeah, that's interesting walk-up music for me.
Boom, we're bombed. Zoom bomb like the old days by Sam Hammer. You made it to the show.
Yes, from one show to another. Hey, Aaron, thanks for coming.
Nice.
Hi, how are you?
So thank you for joining us, Sam Hammer. I'm not going to introduce you because everybody knows who you are. Let's not steal the thunder from Aaron. Aaron Ryan Heineman is on Melrose Commission on Disability and is here to talk about some work that you guys are doing soon with Follow Your Art Community Studios on their in real life storytelling event.
So the IRL storytelling events have been really popular with Follow Your Art Community Studios. Chris from Follow Your Art has hosted several of these events, and they tend to take different themes. I actually was a storyteller at one back when I was first basically only out of the hospital for like maybe 9 months, and it was the first kind of time I had told my story about how I became disabled and all that. That was a really big moment for me. But these are great events, and so the Disability Commission is partnering with Follow Your Art Community Studios to have a specific night of storytelling. So it's called, so I want to get the name right. It's called Taking Up Space: Elevating Stories of Lived Experiences with Disability. And just to get the info out there, it's going to be so it's at Temple Beth Shalom on Saturday, June 10th, and it's from 7 to 9 p.m. So that is sort of like the basic info, but I want to talk a little bit about how we came up with that name, if I could.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
So we've been kind of bouncing around the idea of embodiment when you have a disability, and especially a physical disability like myself. But the idea of kind of when you are disabled, either visibly or invisibly, taking up space really, that became the title. You feel when you become disabled, you feel there's a feeling internally that you are taking up space in a different way, in a new way. That is, if you are not born with a disability. And if you're born with a disability, especially a visible one, then you kind of know from when you're little that you take up space in a different way than other people do. And that's just a experience that most disabled people can relate to. I certainly can. Like I know that I take up space differently because I have lots of little like accoutrements on me, but oftentimes people think I have a sports injury because the stuff that I use for my like I have a spastic arm from multiple sclerosis from a former paralysis event. So I have spasticity in my arm. And so that like actually opens up conversation sometimes with people. They're like, "Oh, what did you do to your shoulder?" I threw my, I had that surgery like weeks ago or 3 years ago or something. And I'm like, actually it's not that. And it's my brain and it's permanent. And sometimes it can be uncomfortable to have those conversations, but I like to tell people the truth, right? I like to tell people what it really is about, and then they don't feel so bad asking next time, hopefully.
Right. Or they're going to ask differently next time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
so
we are still, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say we're still looking for storytellers.
Great. So I was going to ask, I think I had read or heard that you're looking for storytellers, of people to be able to tell their first person stories, but also from caregivers or family members as well. Can you make a can you talk about that a little bit more, like what that's like?
Yeah. So we're looking for we're looking for lived experiences of people with disabilities or like closely adjacent to a person with a disability, like very close caregiver, and the lived experience of those people. Ideally, it would be the person with the disability telling the story, if possible. However, that's not always necessarily possible. But the other thing I want to say is you don't have to have a visible disability to tell a story about it. And you do not have to disclose necessarily. I know that's really difficult with like, it's about disability, but you don't technically have to disclose. I know people get concerned about disclosing their disability with good reason. I never disclosed the fact that I had multiple sclerosis to any of my employers until I was in the hospital paralyzed. So, like, it's a fear of ours, right?
Do you feel like Follow Your Art? I mean, I've heard them talk about this. We've talked about this with them before, and it's really part of their mission. You know, it's a little different than telling your employer. They've really done a lot of work to create this like community, safe and welcoming space. So it's a really wonderful opportunity. I'm imagining for people to be able to kind of practice telling their stories there and among friends and among this like super supportive, wonderful community, so that when you do have to talk about it with an employer, you're more versed. You've gotten the jitters out about it or whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact of storytelling itself is so good for like it's like I've heard the quotation, like, trauma must be told, right? And every person who's lived with a disability in the United States has experienced trauma of some kind, just by nature of of their life. And I actually have a quote. So this is Disability Visibility it's edited by Alice Wong. You've probably seen it. It's very popular. Well, at least among the disability community it is. And so this is the introduction. It's by Alice Wong, and it's from Harriet McBride Johnson. She says, "Storytelling itself is an activity, not an object. Stories are the closest we can come to a shared experience. Like all stories, they're the most fundamentally a chance to ride around inside another head and be reminded that being who we are and where we are and doing what we're doing is not the only possibility." And that is like so important to the Disability Commission's, I guess, work as well. Like half of what we're doing, or a lot of what we do, is just try to showcase to the not currently disabled general public that there are ways to make things more inclusive for people with disabilities. I also wanted to say that disability is so varied, and if you might not even think you have a disability, but you do if you are. So I have like the list of the ADA include, like, what's included in the ADA. So like neurodivergence, right? Any neurodivergence that's under covered under the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. Impairment, physical disability, diabetes, heart disease, multiple sclerosis that I have, but everything from asthma to migraine headaches to depression and anxiety and that sort of thing. So all of those stories are worth telling, and they're and people want to hear them. I've also experienced when we have had panel events that people could attend. I've always from those panel events thinking, wow, people were really listening to those. People really wanted to hear what it's like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry.
I think people do want to hear those stories and any stories about other people. And I think one thing I would emphasize to your point, Jen, is it's a very, very supportive environment.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to be the best storyteller in the world. It's about just kind of getting up in front of the group and telling a little bit about your story. To your point, Erin, it could be, pretty detailed and vulnerable or not. And you don't have to have a professional screenwriter help you or whatever the process is. You can keep it pretty simple. The last event I went to, I know Tom Shampoo got total stories, like this fun cute story that was entertaining. Another young man got up and talked about his struggles, and one could argue it wasn't the most eloquent story, but it was probably the most moving one of the evening.
Yeah.
So people are just curious, and it's a nice it's a nice way to get off the screen and into a room with people and connect. So I think it could be emphasized that it's pretty approachable, pretty cool vibe in the room, pretty supportive environment.
And another thing that I want to add to that, Tom, is that your story, if you're thinking about telling a story, it doesn't have to be like you're kind of like, if you feel like your story is sad or something, it doesn't have to be about your disability, about you becoming disabled. It could be about going on a date. It could be about, a time that you met your best friend. It has to kind of be sort of disability adjacent in the story. It would be great if it was told by a disabled person, but like, it does not have to be totally about your disability, because people with disabilities have have lives, and we've got lots of interesting stuff that happens in our lives. So we don't need to tell stories that are just about our disabilities. And I'm going to be the MC, by the way.
Oh,
Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Becky, and I are emceeing together, so it should be really fun.
Great. That's a really great point too, and it kind of goes along with the theme of taking up space. Like you're like I'm here, and I have lived experiences and funny date stories, and you know, just like the next person, right? Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Did we talk about the date? When is this event?
So it is June 10th.
June 10th.
From 7 to 9 p.m. at Temple. Yeah, thank you. This is great.
Thank God you're here, Sam.
Awesome. So you mentioned you were still looking for storytellers. First, we should talk about how people can get a hold of you, but also, is there a deadline? And talk about how you prepared.
So there's no deadline on the website. However, so if you're looking to tell a story, just go to Follow Your Art. It's one of the followyourart.com, FYACS.org, I think, or .com. I feel like, okay. And it's, I think the top thing right now on the website right now is IRL storytelling. Click here if you want to tell your story. So you can just fill out the form of interest. It's just an interest form, and then somebody will respond to you, and you'll get to kind of like talk through maybe what you want to do. And filling out the form is not signing on the dotted line that you're telling a story. Just filling out the form. So I want people to fill out the form, even if they're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, for some storytellers, there's some coaching. There will be some coaching too. So.
Oh, great.
You'll be, yeah.
So how did you prepare for your first story? What was that process like for you?
So I had tried to tell my story several times. Because I was working with a friend of mine who does storytelling events like in Boston. And I couldn't get, so it was about 9 months out from when I had left the hospital. I had full paralysis on my left side. And I was away because it was COVID, I was away from my children for a full month, because I was in the hospital for a month. And I couldn't get through this. I also had a bit of cognitive, especially emotional, like the emotional piece of my cognitive, like, I don't know, I'm losing a word, but my cognition, I guess, was kind of like down. It was not great. And so I couldn't get through the story without crying, like really weeping. So it was a lot of it was just trying to find the points in the story that were not too sad, or that wouldn't make me cry. Mm-hmm. And found all those points, and I told it's not, and there's nothing wrong with crying. In fact, I think I did cry a little bit, because at that point I was always crying. So I think I did cry a little bit, but and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that was it was really a big part of my, I think my cat is coming over right now. She is, yeah. It's really a big part of my recovery, was learning that, like, I cry a lot now that I never did before. And now I have a brain injury and I do. That happened. So, yeah, but it was learning. And I worked with a really great coach, storytelling coach when I was getting ready. And that's what we did. We just found the points. Hey, Luna, this is actually like this cat, like Luna, she's not, now she's going to go away. She helped me so much in my recovery. She sits on my like shoulder. She would sit on my bad shoulder every single night when I get back from the hospital, and she still does.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. She's just hungry now, though.
They just know, right? They just know.
Do. They do.
I mean, she really does. Like, like it's yeah. I could be having like a lot of stress and like feeling a flare, and hey, and she will come and
hopefully she's not coming to relieve a lot to right now. We don't want to.
I think she wants to be famous.
No, she's just
she just wants to be on the show.
Yeah.
She just wants to be celebrity adjacent, I think.
Oh, Luna, meet Frankie. Hold on really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's some royalty. That's some royalty in the room.
There's a story behind that too. Yeah. Just saying.
That's
all right, we should probably wrap it up. It's just past 9, but Erin, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing on the commission. Every time I talk to you, I learn more. It's always a delight chatting with you. We love everything that's happening coming out of Follow Your Art and all our friends over there. So we're all really looking forward to this. So hopefully we can help you get a few more storytellers. And thanks for being here. And we'll see you there. So Sam, anything that we missed that you want to add in your last 10 minutes? Where were you, Sam?
I'm so sorry. Elementary schools around Melrose try their darndest to pull off a musical concert. And so I was at our kids' last concert, which we haven't had one since first grade. So second, third, fourth. So it's been years, COVID and then staffing. We have not had this concert in a very long time. So we have some friends of the show were there with their kids of the fans. So Eugenia's kids were there, well, obviously. And then, but yeah, it was amazing.
That's wonderful.
There's some nice ways to end your tenure at Lincoln School with your 5th graders. Yep. So that was the orchestra in the 4th grade, boom whackers doing Crazy Train.
Oh my God, get out of here.
And then the 5th graders sang a few songs, one of them being Living on a Prayer with the orchestra as well. Yeah, it was great.
That is great.
Lengthy, but still really
good.
Yes,
they usually are. We were getting the play-by-play from Sam. We're only on the 4th grade.
Yeah.
Well, by the time you get to the 4th grade, it's almost over because it's the kindergartners that take like 20 minutes to get on and off stage.
Getting them on and off the stage, totally. That's so true. I remember.
And also got to give another shout out. The kindergartners sang our Lincoln School song written by Alistair Mook. It was fantastic. I just love that legacy is continuing on.
Totally.
So all good things. It was a great way to end everything. And the PTO friends and I were joking about how this is like a great time to ask people to volunteer.
Yeah.
Like to just get up on stage and beg them to help.
These wonderful magical moments. Yeah. We're passing the baton to you. Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you. Sorry to be late. But,
no worries. No worries. You missed our photo from T. So we said that next week we're going to dive into some of the things that we didn't get a chance to talk about with you this week. So we'll
budgety
more
things,
about the budget and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right.
So get ready.
All right. Well, thank you, Erin.
Great. Thanks again, Erin.
Thanks, Erin.
Good to see you too.
See you all around town.
somebody know how to turn this thing off?